Your government name?
You no, he referring to me.
Talk to Debo.
Yeah. You almost said it. I heard
I
you.
know.
Did you
Almost
pause?
got it.
It's okay. I mean, that's the name my mother gave me. All of them belong to me, except Leroy and Leroy. Neither one of those are
Leroy?
mine. Yeah, neither one of those are
Leroy
mine.
is Skillet. Remember Leroy Skillet? That was a great vaudeville.
There we go.
Black vaudeville. Leroy and Skillet. If you ever want to see Leroy and Skillet, watch Sanford and Son. Leroy and Skillet is on there. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us for the program today. Crazy weekend, so I'll get to that in the second part of the program. But if I'm saying that, what a weekend for music, but then look at the weather. Oh my God. I saw people pulling in for Kenny Chesney at about 3:30. They were tailgating and they got caught in the rain a couple of times. So yeah, he was there. And then I think SZA, they delayed her show and she started at 10. Yeah. So, and then Dave Matthews, they rescheduled, so they don't have to refund your tickets. That's going to be next Saturday. But I knew when they were saying that this thing went right over Alpine Valley, went right over Franklin Field, where Ludacris and T.I. I love T.I. I just like the way he carries himself. I love T.I. So anyway, we'll get back to that around 10 o'clock and talk about some other things. I don't know if y'all watched track and field this weekend. Ooh. And I got to do it real quick, then I'll get to you. That Fever Sky game, that was a great game. Man, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, they were balling. I think Caitlin Clark ended up with like 13 assists. It was incredible to watch him play. So a great weekend. We're joined in studio by State Representative Dora Drake.
Good morning.
Good morning. She's a candidate for the Senate District number 4.
Yes, I am.
How are you? Welcome back.
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back.
Good. Because you came on and quietly announced your candidacy a little while back. But that was before the special election.
That was before, right. So I was getting the word out that, and it's so weird how timing works because I know I put a press statement out, obviously saying that I was going to run for the 4th Senate seat, and then it was still in the midst of session, but no one knew when the special election was called.
This is so crazy. My mom did. She did receive her ballot.
Oh, good. Okay.
She's in the district. So who is Dora Drake?
Well, who is Dora Drake? So before ever running for office, born and raised in Milwaukee, right? By Old Webster Middle School, if people know where that is, off on Good Hope and Green Tree. But I was actually born and raised in Milwaukee. And after graduating from Marquette University through the EOP program, first generation student, I became a social worker. And I worked in the Milwaukee County Courthouse doing pretrial services for a couple of years, whether that was pretrial services, IOTA, referrals, mental health, employment, you name it. And I got to the point where I wanted to be part of the solution, not just responding to the needs that I saw. Did some work around local school board race election, and then did reentry services for a year, working with people coming back home from prison to get a fair second chance. And then in 2020, during COVID, I ran for public office, formerly State Representative Jason Fields' seat. And so my time as a state representative over these 4 years has been really intentional about the work that I did, whether that was finding solutions to find a commonality across different sides, to also fighting for things that we should be standing up for, whether that's access to health care. Recently, as the chairwoman of the Legislative Black Caucus, fighting and pushing back against efforts to eliminate diversity, equity, inclusion, and quite frankly, any type of rollbacks that they're trying to push for in Wisconsin. And so my intentions for running for the 4th Senate seat, my bad, I'm getting a whole
that's
interview.
My next question.
Oh, okay, well, I'm going right. Well, I'm just flowing with the program.
So let's just technically get it out the way.
Yeah.
What made you, well, one, you said that you want to be part of the solution. That's why you ran for state
Exactly.
rep.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about, can you give me some demographics of what your current legislative district looks like, the boundaries?
Yeah, so demographically, it is pretty much the northwest side of Milwaukee. So think of pretty much north of Hampton all the way to city limits. I do have one ward in Brown Deer, so that goes actually to County Line Road. And then as far as west, it goes, I believe, as far as 107th. There are some parts where it goes further south into Capitol. I have part of Wauwatosa there. And then as you go east, I have all of Glendale and Shorewood as well. So it's a pretty large district. The majority of the district is probably it is the most diverse district in the whole state of Wisconsin in terms of, you know, Black residents, but still a growing population of Hmong, you know, Latinx. And then there's a lot of homeowners. There's different business parks as well. So it's a pretty diverse district, and it's a large district as well.
So beyond the fact that the seat opened, why did you want to run for District 4 Senate seat?
Well, for two reasons. First reason is, in the assembly, you only have 2 years, in the assembly, then you have to run. So what that means for us currently is that, the first year we'll be doing the budget process, and then the following year we're already getting ready to run for office. And so a lot of the initiatives that I want to do will allow more capacity for things I want to do, not just for community outreach and constituent outreach for services, but also to build on some initiatives that I believe that we really need. And the second reason is probably more personal. There's been, I believe, an epidemic around mental health. And for a while, I've been wanting to do something that's effective, right, and sustainable. And I know that there's a lot of different groups, community organizers, city and county that are doing efforts to address it. But the state isn't doing its part, I believe, to really providing the framework and the support to do that. And to address such an issue where it's embedded in everything, I wanted the time to really work on that. And it was an honor of someone that I lost closely due to mental health and gun violence. And I believe that there's not a better time now than to work across, and everyone that knows the importance of getting things done, knowing that I'll work for it. But most importantly, I think this time to do some things differently. And I believe that we're in a space where people are ready to do something different, where they're actually part of that process, part of the organizing, not just to push legislation, but also to be part of the solution too.
What do you see as some of the challenges facing the 4th Senatorial District?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I've seen and that I've been hearing on the doors, one of the biggest things is public safety, and that's tied into reckless driving. I've heard, and I mean, I experience it too. You're looking both ways on the street, trying to make sure that no one's doing the most, trying to stay safe, and that everyone should have the right to be in a safe neighborhood, right?
So what's when we say that, because obviously it's not just a problem in Milwaukee.
No, it's not.
You go to many cities, they used a lot of COVID money to do traffic mitigation, right?
Yeah.
So it's a problem. What can be done then on the state level to address this local issue, which is reckless driving?
Yeah, I have a couple ideas. One, I am a supporter of red light cameras. I do believe that that's a tool that can be given to law enforcement just so they can actually catch the person that's driving or doing the reckless driving, not necessarily the car that it belongs to. The second thing is looking at.
You do know that there's been a pretty checkered history
I
when it
do.
comes around to these red light enforcement cameras.
Yeah. And I definitely understand that. But I think we're in a place where we can find a way to say, look, we can ensure that there are safeguard guardrails, so to speak, to ensure that people's privacy information isn't held indefinitely, because I know that is a trend that's happening actually in public safety measures. There's a lot of upcoming technologies around AI and technology, which again, I love innovative solutions, but I also want to make sure people's data and information is kept safe. And so I believe there is a balance in doing those two things. The other two things is working and supporting more of our trusted messengers, that are out in the community. You have people, and I just actually got a chance to talk with some men at the Freedom event that they had at Estabrook Park earlier this weekend, actually. And it was an event where people that were just as impacted had a space just to be and to support each other. And a lot of the words that I was hearing was that they want to be part of the solution, and they have a way of reaching youth and some of the adults in ways that maybe you and I can't, that don't come from that background. And so what does it mean to support the work that they're doing as more of a proactive approach? And then there's also sort of, you mentioned the traffic um, designs of what that looks like for transportation models. Are there ways where we can either redesign our streets, fund adequately actually local governments, because I still believe the city and the county should be getting more from the state, to put measures forward to do public safety? So obviously that's just not reckless driving, but that support for our victims, that go through the criminal justice system, and our TAD programs. If someone is, faced a case for the first time and the judge can see based on the assessment and the nature of the case that it's their first time and they don't want to indefinitely put them, in custody right away, then there can be a diversion program where, okay, if you do this many community hours, you do this amount of programming, then we'll move it to where you don't have to serve time in prison.
One of one of the frustrations though is that you can do all levels of enforcement. People who want to drive a certain way are going to drive a certain way,
Right.
and then even to look at it, I wish it was just a particular demographic, but it seems to transcend
Oh, it absolutely does.
all demographics to the
Mhm.
point where I see somebody like tailgate me and I'm thinking it's a dude and it's a young lady and I'm going, oh. I mean,
Yeah.
so it is frustrating. And then when you put in some of the mitigating, it becomes an inconvenience
Mhm.
for people who are not recklessly driving.
Of course.
So how do you respond to that when people are saying why should I have to suffer because of what other people are doing?
Well, no, it's a fair question. I would probably answer it this way. We got to figure out something to try something right. I do believe that obviously for people that are doing the right thing, we should obviously be supporting and not penalizing people that are doing the right thing, right? But I think if we want to address the issue on hand, then we got to be open to what that looks like, because the people that are causing, are the ones that are the perpetrators, so to speak. Um, being recklessly driving, they're connected to somebody, right? They may not be blood related to us, but they're still part of our community. And what I don't want to see happen in a state where we really need to address it is where we try to throw those folks just completely to the side, and then we unintentionally make the criminal justice system even worse than what it needs to be, and just sort of just locking folks up. And then when they come out, and if they're not getting the support they need, then we're actually probably just furthering the issue and making it worse.
So when you talk about this, and I think just um, right now there is a staffing crisis
Mhm.
in DLC.
Absolutely.
How do we address? Is it an issue that maybe we need to take a look at some of these truth in sentencing?
Hmm. Absolutely. And actually, you brought me to that was actually one of the things I actually want to do as your next senator within the criminal justice system. When I talk about criminal justice initiatives, the biggest policy issue that allows a lot of folks to stay incarcerated is our extended supervision laws. You can have someone that has been, out on custody serving their supervision for 10, 15, 20 plus years. And it only takes one bad luck, whether it's a CEO that had a bad day or just a happenstance. And if that person is revoked and incarcerated again, their time spent in custody does not apply to their time out on supervision.
Right, and that was the thing that
Yeah.
surprised me, that the number one reason for people going to prison is revocation,
Mm-hmm.
not committing new crimes, but revocation.
Is revocation.
Yeah.
And so another part of this whole issue of public safety and criminal justice reform, we have so many people that are on our books that really should be let go. And if we address the extended supervision piece, one, we're actually going to allow the courts and our you know jail facilities open up to actually house folks that probably need to be incarcerated, because right now, they're already packed. The courts and the clerks aren't being supported the way they need to from the state, or that's funding. And I know that the state has done some efforts to provide more safety for our CEOs, but we need to ensure that there's safety for the people that are currently incarcerated too.
What are some of the other challenges you see in the 4th Senatorial District?
The other challenges that I see I mentioned was mental health, and not just for youth, but I think for everybody. And that's probably the second biggest thing I've been hearing on the doors. A lot of folks know that a lot of the underlying issues we're dealing with are tied to that. And I'll share this. I had actually a group of students from Barack Obama High School come to visit me at the Capitol one day. Awesome group. But there was a young lady there who showed me some of the scars that she had. And she shared with me how she went to the Dewey Center just before coming to the Capitol. And so when I pulled her to the side and asked, if she was supported, what was going on, her response was that she feels supported at the school. She feels like she can talk to her teachers. She has students and friends that she can confide in, but at home, it's still not. It was a place where she felt like she couldn't share, or it was shut down and dismissing her experience. And so I think we collectively just need to do a better job of acknowledging that it's okay not to be okay. And whether that's allowing folks to get mental health resources where they don't have to wait 6 months at a time to find a therapist, or even having an intermediary space for someone that needs to get mental health services but don't have to be checked in. I know currently some legislators and I were actually looking at our chapter 51 laws. And for folks that are listening, that's if someone is detained involuntarily, to get mental health support. And we had law enforcement stakeholders come to us and say, by law, we have to handcuff people that are having mental health episodes. And we don't want to do that. Like, they recognize that that's traumatizing and that only adds to the issue. So there's a lot of area to grow on for the state and mental health. But the top two other issues would be obviously education for our youth, and just frankly, the economic state of the 4th Senate District.
So go back to, let's talk about the education piece again, because last time we talked, a lot has happened.
Yes, it has.
And there is some state involvement in the current situation at NPS. What was your take on, or what is your take on the current state of Milwaukee Public Schools?
Frustration is an understatement. And it's sad just because we know that education really is the bread and butter of making sure any child becomes successful, whatever they choose, whether that's apprenticeships, whether that's trade, whether that's higher education. And in a state where we still have Black children that can't read or write by the 3rd grade, that's problematic for me. So when the news came out with our Milwaukee Public Schools, I was hopeful that there would have been some progress initially between our local electeds and the school board and DPI to come up with a plan. But then when the news came out saying that there was no real solid plan within the first 2 drafts, now we got a problem. And I am fully supportive of having an audit. Do I want to figure out what needs to be addressed? Absolutely. But if we don't even know how bad the situation is, I'm glad that there is going to be an independent audit saying, so now we can actually see what's happening. But what I don't want to happen at the end of this process is where the state maintains control of our Milwaukee Public Schools.
And I was going to ask that. Yeah. So are you in favor of a possible takeover of the district or breaking up the district as some has proposed?
I'm not sure about a takeover from the state. Breaking up, I'm open to what that looks like. Because at this point, I think we need to be bold enough to say, hey, what do we need to do differently? But I still want to make sure that there's local control, because as much as state electeds, the state should be leading in the state of our education for our children. We should be doing that. And that means adequately funding our schools and our teachers a lot more. But in that same breath, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be transparency. And, what those steps look like moving forward, we need to be open to what that looks like and still having a pathway for schools to be controlled by people, by the community.
We're joined in studio by State Representative Dora Drake. She's a candidate for the 4th Senatorial District for the state of Wisconsin. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I'm going to ask you, what do you see as opportunities there in the 4th Senatorial District? We'll be right back.
That's right.
Hey, Milwaukee, tune in Thursday, June 27th, inside Community Voice at 10 a.m. for a special show. Chris Miskell, President and CEO of Versiti Incorporated, will share exciting news about Versiti on King, a new community resource on Milwaukee's North Side. Tune in and see how Versiti is bringing positive change and how you can be a part of it. That's Thursday, June 27th, inside Community Voice with Keith Parris at 10 a.m.
You know one thing about Biden?
Here you go again.
When he makes a promise, he keeps it.
Okay, like what?
He got us out of the pandemic, got the country back on its feet.
Okay, sure.
And when all that recovery money was getting spent, Biden made sure that Black businesses and communities got our fair share.
So, man?
That's a promise made and a promise kept.
Okay, but what else?
New roads, new bridges, high-speed internet, even out in the country where your brother lives.
Yeah.
Lower health insurance rates. Didn't your premiums go down?
Uh-huh.
That's another Biden promise kept.
Looks like it.
My mom's medication costs less. Your cousin's insulin is now only $35.
Okay, but what about jobs, building wealth?
Under Biden, the number of new Black small businesses is booming, and Black unemployment hit a record low. See? That's another.
Okay, I get it. Promise made, promise kept. I can see that now.
Told you. Biden and Harris are getting the job done for us.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
Looking to leave a lasting impression? Look no further than Great Impressions Graphics and Printing. With over 25 years of experience, we're your one-stop shop for all things printing. Whether it's custom invitations, banners, apparel, or high-quality on-time funeral programs, we've got you covered. Planning a family reunion? We'd love to help. Visit our website at greatimpress.com or give us a call at 414-536-7646 to start your next project today. We're here when you need us.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
Hello, Milwaukee. This is Pastor Piles of Abundant Faith Church of Integrity, better known as a business pastor. And I'll be joining the WNOV family starting July 7th. I'm excited to invite you to join me on our incredible journey. But most of all, we'll be learning and understanding the Word of God. Get ready to dive in on this deep teaching to know and understand God's Word. We're going to be strengthening family, empower the community, and most of all, growing our leaders. Together, we'll be exploring the power of prayer and the beauty of forgiveness, but most of all, we'll be discovering the dimensions of the kingdom. Tune in every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. starting July the 7th. It's going to be an hour of teaching, laughter, but most of all, it's going to increase your faith.
Hello, I am attorney Coral Plus, and I'm inviting you to join me for a new show here at WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM. You asked the name of the show? It's Money Talks with Attorney Coral, and it'll air each and every Thursday from 11 a.m. till 12 noon. We'll discuss financial literacy and what part Columbia Savings and Loan can play in your journey to financial freedom. Remember to join us each and every Thursday from 11 till noon, right here at 860 AM and 106.5 FM.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
Listen, everybody. Listen up good now. Listen, everybody. Listen up good now.
Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice. And again, we're joined in studio by State Representative Dora Drake. She is a candidate for the 4th District state senatorial seat. As you all know, that that seat was held for 19 years. That's a long time. By former Senator Lena Taylor. And we've had, I've had Dr. Keisha Myers, who's also a candidate on. And so they're competing to fill the position. Now, it's really kind of weird because there's a special election.
Yes.
That's July 2nd.
And early voting has already started.
Yeah, my mom got her ballot already.
Yep.
So, and then the regular election cycle will be August, November, right?
Yes.
So there's people in that district will vote twice.
Yes. They didn't make it easy for us, but that's why I want to make sure people know all the dates are important this year. I mean, every election's important, but especially in this one, especially knowing that representation is important.
Let me, I'll come back to that question. So what are some of the opportunities you see there in the 4th senatorial district?
So some of the opportunities that I see are actually more economically based, and it sort of ties into what we started leading into during the break. Obviously, Northridge is part of the 4th Senate district, right? And so now that the city is currently in the process of, destroying and tearing down Northridge, there's a lot of opportunity there, right? So that can mean it could be a place for a job center. It could be a place for mixed use developments, whether that's restaurants, businesses, places where families can go and eat. And so I know that Alderwoman Taylor has been really diligent in having different insight and input from residents there to really figure out what they want that new space to be, and for me growing up, Northridge was the mall that my family and I would go to. And so I remember when it was Northridge, there was Target and Walmart over there at one point. It was just a bustling area. And so that's one area that I see a lot of potential for growth. Another area for growth is also the opportunities that are coming down the pipeline from the federal government. And what I mean by that is the state has been, and this is just in the electric vehicle and the utility space, there has been, I believe the state was rewarded $7 billion to set up the infrastructure for electric vehicles, right? So regardless of where you stand on the issue, this is an opportunity where people have an opportunity to get a well-paying job that can really sustain somebody's life. And whether that's if you're working for a contract or if you are a business owner that wants a piece of the pie, those are opportunities that I don't want the district to miss. And frankly, I just want to make sure we get our piece of the pie, right? And so there's a lot of opportunities that are coming from not just the feds, but I believe in every area of trying to grow our city, trying to grow the Senate. And this is something that I don't think we should take lightly. If there's funding that's coming towards Wisconsin, we should take hold of that.
Now you're going to replace a senator who had her own, I'm not going to say, her own unique style.
Yes.
One of the words I always attached to Lena is ubiquitous. She's everywhere. And so that district, after 19 years, has grown accustomed to a certain representative style.
Absolutely.
How do you compare yourself to the predecessor, and how does then that, I won't say style, is it different? Is it the same? Is it in terms of how we respond to community and constituent concerns? How do you?
Oh, that's a good. That's the first question.
How you follow a legend? How you follow a legend?
Well, yeah, and she is a legend, and I respect the work that she's done. And I'm excited for what she'll do as judge. In terms of comparing our styles, I know at the heart you have to make sure your constituents are taken care of, and so that's something that, even as a state rep, I've been diligent in. Whether during COVID, it was making sure people got their unemployment insurance if they're waiting for several weeks, months on end. And I really want to make sure I'm diligent in setting up roundtables with different stakeholders throughout the district. So that way they have a way of staying in contact with me with them, and really maintaining that relationship with the constituents and providing those services. In terms of advocacy styles, I do believe that we fight for what's best for the district. You know, if there are things that I believe strongly in, I've made it known that I'll fight for that. And where there are areas of finding solutions, I'm willing to be a bridge builder and work across the table. And so, though the styles may be different in terms of, advocacy wise, the heart intent is still there. It's about putting the people first, because right now that's what we need, I think, in a time when there's a lot of things and issues that we're dealing with. And it's now time for people to push sort of other interests aside, making sure that people are taken care of first.
You currently you have been in the state legislature for 4 years.
Yes.
And so 2 terms.
Mhm.
What are some of your and I understand you're in a minority position, being Democrats right now. That's going to change.
Yes.
And I'll kind of get back to that, why this Senate seat becomes really important based on the redrawn district maps.
Right.
What were some of the things or bills that you did as in your 4-year tenure there as a state rep?
Yeah, so some of the bills that were signed to law, one of them was addressing some of the bad actors that would keep a separate pair of books. So we were finding at the state that, and it wasn't like every shop, right? But sometimes you would have a gas station owner that might have these devices that you can actually scan a separate, fee to keep for yourselves, and they were reporting that to the state. So in this long, extensive bill of just making sure we hold bad actors accountable, I was able, not only was I one of the original authors of the bill, but I also put in there an amendment where we had to regulate vaping, because previously our state didn't have any regulation on vape pens at all. And according to CDC, 1 in every 3 high schoolers will actually vape. And so if we're talking about health, obviously the push for no menthol and banning that, we got to start somewhere first. And so that's a piece of legislation that was able to get signed into law this year. Another piece of legislation that I'm particularly proud of was a bill that I did support. And it was during the time of, the death of George Floyd, and when our state was trying to do, police accountability reform. It was not nearly as strong as I would want it to see, or I think a lot of people here would want to see. But there was one particular bill that I was excited that did get signed into law that I was a co-sponsor of. Previously, if you had, say, a bad actor officer, right, that wanted to transfer from Waukesha County to Milwaukee County, they didn't have to disclose the complaints, that an officer had. And so a lot of times our police departments would be hiring people that would have these histories of not having the best encounters with people that they were supposed to serve. And there was an agreement with law enforcement agencies at the state saying that we want to be better, we want to do differently. And so now that's, with that bill being signed to law, that was one of the first bills signed to law when I was first elected. Now officers have to disclose their full history of complaints, of nuisances that have been filed against them. So in that way, regardless of which county that you're applying for, everyone sees your whole history. And I believe that serves accountability in a lot of ways.
Should, if you take, there's a particular officer in Wauwatosa who had basically 3 deaths that he was responsible for. He was able to resign from the Wauwatosa Police Department and then get a job at Waukesha Sheriff's Department. Should there be a bill in place that says that not only that, if there, well, in this case, he wasn't convicted of any crimes and it doesn't look like there was any wrongdoing. But I just wonder how, because other people, just the disciplinary piece would be a bar for them getting a job.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I would think that people would welcome that, in terms of making it to legislate. Because think about it. If you want the best on your team, right, why would you have someone that has a history and, unfortunately, some that's on your name? And I don't see why there'd be pushback unless there's other ulterior motives. And so that's something that I would support in the legislature if that's not in the books already.
Yeah. After, 2 sessions.
Mhm.
Well, 2 sessions. Yeah, but that'll be 2 terms. Do you think that I want to say that, how important then is your experience? I mean, after just 2 terms.
Yeah, I would say that my experience plays a part in this. You know, I think I have the experience of providing direct services, so I saw how service, providing services sometimes misses the marks with the policy that we try to implement at the state. And then at the state level, I'm proud to say that because of the work that I've done and because of my own work ethic that I, believed and got from my parents, that I've been able to make strides in just building not just my own leadership, but really serving the people that I represent. Currently I'm the ranking Democrat for criminal justice and public safety and serve on the transportation committee, the health long-term aging care committee, as well as energy and utilities. I'm also served as a legislative Black Caucus chairwoman for our state for a couple of years now, and I was the vice chair of the Speaker's Study Task Force on Truancy. And so all these different experiences and leadership opportunities have built up my own skill set, so to speak, on what it means to lead, not just to looking at budget, look at the policies, but also build relationships necessary to get things done at the state capitol and to fight and stand for what's right as well.
I had mentioned earlier that all Senate seats are going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, with the redrawn district lines, there's a very real possibility, not after this session, this term, but the next term,
yes,
that in fact the Dems could take control of the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So then this seat becomes important, right?
Oh, every seat's important, but especially this one. In the assembly, I do believe that they have a pathway of Democrats getting the majority back this year. And in the Senate, Senate is where we can determine who gets appointed for different positions at cabinets and departments, as well as just pushing, policy agendas that I believe would really benefit our own community. And so whoever holds the seat now, will hold the seat, is going to be imperative in 2026, because I do believe in 2026 there's a real pathway for Democrats to get the majority in the Senate as well.
So why should the good people in the 4th Senate District vote for Dora Drake?
They should vote for me because I have a track record of not only working hard and getting things done, but because I do believe that the time is now to do something different and work with you collaboratively to get the things that we need in our community, whether that's public safety, reckless driving, investing in our kids and supporting them, to what it means for criminal justice initiatives and overall healthy communities. And I believe that should we move forward in that, you'll always have someone that's going to be responsive, that's going to listen first and foremost, and that's not going to take the position lightly. This is a seat that has a lot of legacy behind it, and I recognize that. And so you want someone that's going to be diligent in that and not take it haphazardly.
If people want to find out more about Dora Drake and Dora Drake's run for the state Senate seat, where can they go?
Well, you can go to doradrakefrwi.com, and there you can either call us at 414-208-4739. You can email us at info@doradrakefrwi.com. And want to remind folks that early voting has started. And so for the polling sites, you can go to Good Hope Library, Villard Library, or the Midtown Library off on 60th and Capitol in that bank. And then for our municipalities such as Glendale, Brown Deer, Wauwatosa, you would go to your city clerk until the end of this week. And hopefully I can earn your support to be your next state senator on July 2nd.
Because we're about, what, 2 weeks out?
Just a little under a week now.
Yeah.
Yeah, July 2nd.
Yeah, I can't believe, because next week is the 4th?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
I know.
It's just
they didn't make it easy for us, but that doesn't mean we walk away from something hard. And so again, you can early vote now at Villard, Good Hope, or 60th and Capitol, or vote on July 2nd.
State Representative Dora Drake, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. Good luck.
Thank you.
If you got something for me now, okay. All right. So again, thank you. We're gonna do a little transition, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Voice. We'll be right back. 444-5250.
Keith, I had something I wanted to share with you, man. I don't know if you heard the announcement this morning. Did you hear the announcement?
Yes, Sister Sharon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't give her no love this morning?
Oh, I had a guess.
Oh, yes, sorry about that. Yeah. Guess was right at the top.
Right at the top of the hour. But congratulations to Sister Sharon. Yeah, she's good.
She is good.
She's good,
She's
man.
good. One of the things that I certainly can hang my hat on is the fact that one, I recommended her.
Okay.
When Dr. Green left, and then two, that I trained her. So certainly for her to receive accolades of such, it's like a proud papa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She's good. She and let's give her credit.
Yeah.
She drove that truck in the parade.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see it. As I was here.
So she was out there, but yeah, congratulations. Just first of all, just her talent, but I really love her spirit too.
Yeah.
And
National Gospel Announcer of the Year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's to even be nominated certainly was an accomplishment, as she was getting a wee bit nervous as it was about time for her to go. She was like, I'm claiming it, but if I don't, no, you can't claim it and then say, if I don't. So, I tried to reassure her and just saying to even be nominated on a national level.
I guess she gets to renegotiate her contract now. Huh?
Well, there's no prizes for that.
Go ahead and have a
careful with
sit
that.
down.
So what would have happened if you had not won? Then
I know.
Do you come in and renegotiate?
And you think about those people when you go to the awards show, they tell you that if you're a finalist, you should prepare a speech.
Mm-hmm.
But just think you were up all night preparing that speech and you didn't win. Or the opposite is true. Oh man, there was no way I'm gonna win.
Well,
and then you win.
She tickles me because she says she's sitting there and she's kind of zoning out like Mitch McConnell or something. She's in her own little world. And they announce somebody else for something else, and then they say Gospel Announcer of the Year, Sharon Jordan, and she just sits there like Mitch McConnell. She zoned out. So the lady sitting next to her said, "Ain't you Sharon Jordan?" She said, "Yeah." They just called your name. Oh, they called. Yeah. So I mean, she'll tell that part.
Yeah, with one obvious exception. We just have incredible talent here at WNOV.
We do, man.
There is one exception. That's usually 9 to 11. But other than that, man, I mean, I work with bosses, man.
9 to 11.
Yeah, I work 9 to 11.
You talking about DJ?
What's my? He's only on Fridays. That other dude that's here Monday through Friday. But no, I just think that it's we're a real gem here. And
we are.
And I'm not gonna say if y'all don't appreciate us, you're gonna miss us when we're gone. I don't need to do all that. But yeah, we really are. I think it's part of this is not only the community we have a chance to have a conversation with, but to the staff.
But, certainly, Keith, one of the entities or aspects of that ceremony was the number of votes. So we certainly want to thank our listeners because they had to certainly go online and answer 1,000 questions. And they did it. They did it. They did it. They were just as much responsible as the hard work that she puts in, each and every Sunday. And I tell people all the time, don't think it's just, it's sweet. Keith, how many days do you, I mean, you're always excited to come here, but how many days do you just be like, I wish I didn't have nothing to do right now, but I got to get to the station.
I know. And, and I'm not going to say it's a little bit easier. It's different. She's doing music, where, for me and Michelle and Quab and others who host these programs, we got to do talk. And so you always have to come up with something to talk about. So congratulations, Sharon. Good job. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I listened to that interview with Dora Drake.
Yes.
And that was scripted, right? We had no opportunity to speak, ask questions. And that's just how you wanted it, right?
No. These questions I did, it was not scripted. I can say these are basically the same questions I asked Dr. Myers when she came in. So no, it wasn't. It was scripted in terms of the questions were, but these were questions that I did.
And I can say that the candidate did not know what the questions were prior to her getting here.
Okay, I just would have liked to have seen a little more, spontaneity out of that interview, because she hasn't convinced me to vote for anybody but Lakeisha Marcus. And what she said today, just like she said much. So, I just wanted to hear a little more than what we got this morning, but, maybe she'll come on Michelle's show and, get a little balls and go in there and talk to people. So, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And I'm just checking with you, Debo, until I didn't see anybody had called during the interview.
No, the entire time. No. I believe the young lady that just called was the only individual that called and just said, hey, I had wanted to ask questions, but by the time that she did call,
we'd already wrapped it up.
Yeah, it was wrapped.
And I understand. Look, man, I the only thing I think I have is as much as possible to be balanced and fair. And I know people got their dogs in the race, and I appreciate all of that. But I think that you get the same hearing, and then let people decide on whether or not they're going to support or not support that candidate. I'm not here to do gotcha. I mean, I just don't. I don't care. And there's been people in here I did not support and I did not like, but I never did gotcha, because I just think let the voters make a decision based on what you hear, based on what you know, your due diligence in terms of doing research on the candidates. But it's, pretty general. But again, these are basically the same questions I asked Representative Myers when she was in. And so I think the people in the 4th Senate District have a choice. And I think that they benefit from having a choice.
Absolutely.
So I think, so to have those conversations and full disclosure, both of them reached out. So, that's how we got here. I do know back in 20, there was some controversy about people being able to, certainly on my program, to call in with questions to the candidates. And as I explained then, and I will explain now, I was consistent. I being the host of this program where, folks did not receive phone calls. And much to his credit, because I do remember this happening, we did have an instance when Tom Barrett was in the studio. And so I asked him because, people wanted to call in, did you want to take phone calls? And I'll never forget, Marcy Patterson, she shut that down, but again, no one had called in. So all the candidates that I interviewed, not one of them received calls from the public. It was we started that way. We needed to end that way just for consistency and fairness. Now, some people can do what they do. Here's the other thing that when we, anyway, I'll leave that alone. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Again, that election is next Tuesday, right? Man, the 4th of July just seemed like it's here.
Prepared for it?
Oh yeah, what am I gonna do? We already had our Freedom Day.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you
am I gonna queue?
I mean, you usually grill out. What do you do?
It depends. It really depends.
You got some super duper fireworks over there?
No, man. And here's the thing, and then I got to be back here the next day, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, actually, we're giving you the day off.
The 4th.
Yeah, we're giving you the 5th off too.
We get the 5th off?
No, just you.
Just Carvey, the way they terminate employees around here.
Yeah.
Hey, Keith, you got an off day coming up. Well, what about Michelle? No, just you. Doesn't sound
Is that the day you asked Michelle to work for you?
Nah.
Oh, that's this week.
No. No, that's July 12th. That's a Friday.
Oh, jeez.
That's my birthday. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, y'all just answered the phone.
Oh, okay.
No, we were there.
We was there.
It just didn't have.
I know it was ringing on my end.
Okay, well, go for it, brother. You on?
Hey, question I gotta ask for you. Now, we know that MPS is being used as a stepping stone to create prisoners for the people that live up north so they can have jobs. So what are we doing about the change of that?
You know what's really fascinating? That's a great question. Right now, the people up north don't want us to send any more folks up there because they don't need the prison jobs. You know, when we were going through an economic crisis, prison jobs were jobs that people up north were taking. But now the economy is expanded. Thank you, Joe Biden. And so people are not, those jobs are not, has the same level of demand, but at the same time, we're still sending people at the same rate. Something has to give. And so.
Yeah, because we're not the ones that receiving any of those benefits from the lifestyle that they living up there.
But you know what's interesting? The 6 or 7 correctional officers who were indicted at Walpon for the death of the prisoners, one of them was a black CO. I didn't know they had any black correctional officers either at Dodge or at Walpon. But I haven't been in Dodge. I ain't never
been in neither one of them, but I have family members that's up there. They let you know. I see it's the fact that they use us to get ahead, but don't want us to get ahead.
But the fascinating thing was part of the whole discussion around building that youth facility, correctional facility here, was that there were people who were making the arguments that the jobs that it creates. And so now some might philosophically feel like there's a problem where, you're benefiting, from people's incarcerations. But if you look at Walpon, the city of Walpon is doing very well because of Dodge and Walpon being in that area. I use this big word. There's all these ancillary benefits they have from having those prisons there. The other thing is, do you have black people who be willing to relocate to places like Oshkosh or to go to Waupun or go to Green Bay?
That's the only way you'll be able to build you a $250,000 house on a state income.
Right. And then we do have X number of black correctional officers down at the I can never do it right, MSDF downtown. Yeah. So and I think that
looking for something for the county though.
Oh man, if you look at county is overrepresented when it comes to black correctional officers. And what I mean by overrepresented and based on the percentage of the county, I know a lot of black COs, especially out at the what is it now, the Reintegration Center, the old House of Correction. So, yeah,
I have friends that was correctional officers. They drove from here up there to work.
Yeah.
Every time they didn't want to live up there. Which I understood that, you don't want to come out your house and you got swat stickers on your garage and stuff because they don't want you up there.
Yeah, and that was really fascinating. I don't know, did you watch the track and field trials last night?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did you see the young man from Rice Lake, Wisconsin? The brother?
Yeah.
When we came, I'm talking about descendants of enslaved African people, when we migrated from the South, a lot of those people worked farms, right? They were sharecroppers. So when they went up north, they didn't go up north to work a farm, right? So they went for factory jobs. And so we never expanded out where you had people came up, wanting to get into farming, wanting to move out. And so the concentration of descendants of enslaved Africans tended to be in areas where there was a manufacturing base to the economy. So you look at Milwaukee, you look at Racine, you look at Kenosha, the number of black people that lived in Beloit who worked in Janesville at the GM plant, right? So you didn't have people who wanted to move to Paddock, Wisconsin, right? Because what you going to do in Paddock, Wisconsin? If you don't have a farm, why are you moving to Paddock? And so I think those segregation patterns have got to the point so when you watch the state basketball tournament, for example, and all of a sudden you see black people in cities, the towns that we never even heard of, right?
Yeah, but you know, majority of them are mixed.
Yep. Or probably certainly in that area around Madison, like Sun Prairie, where you had a lot of people who came from Africa to come in, you know, for the education, to teach. So there's a significant population there outside of the city of Madison, right? Nigerians and other folks from Africa. So it's real interesting in terms of this state, how we have pretty much been segregated, and that segregation has been enforced. You know, so
because that's why I always say I don't call it Wisconsin, I call it White Wisconsin.
Right.
Because it seemed like that's all they wanted to be.
And it is so many beautiful parts of this state, man. Oh my God, just to go out and travel. The weather was so crazy this weekend because I really wanted to go up to the Cedarburg Strawberry Festival. But you know, we pay taxes like everybody else in this state. And so we should be able to take advantage of those things that we offer in this state. You know, I mean,
you think they would accept that?
No, because look, man, I was talking to a buddy of mine and he was telling me about him working out. I think he was in Ozaukee County. And he was saying, and until he got that job, there were many of his white counterparts who had no real experience interacting with black people.
Oh yeah, I'll do that every day. I'm an electrician, so when I'm out north, like they was trying to send us up north the other day, and the guy got mad at me because I told him I don't want to go up there. I said, and you know why I don't want to go up there? And it was a white guy. He knew it, and he gave me the look, and he put other people in the spot.
You know what's crazy though? When you say that, when I started the Department of Health and Human Services, we trained at 12th and Valete. And then we used to have an office over at the old 5th Street School. That was Isaac Coggs, the health center there. And so we had an office there. So that's the one I wanted to go to when I got out of the class because, man, I could catch the bus, do that Center Street bus, man, I'm right there. And they said, no, we're going to send you to the South Side. And I cried because I grew up here crossing that 16th Street viaduct, all that history.
Spanish?
No. I had no clue that there was even Spanish people there. I still was thinking about the white people because this was the early 80s, right? And so I was still thinking about the white people. But then when I got there, you began to see the growth of the Hispanic community there in that near South Side area. But you still had X number of poor whites who still lived there. And then there were black people who moved up from Chicago, who I guess when they thought the South Side of Milwaukee was like the South Side of Chicago. So it was probably one of the more diverse communities, even though it was one of the poor communities. That when I worked there, I worked originally at 15th and National, and then we moved to 9th and Mitchell. But no, I didn't want to go across that bridge, man. There was too much history on that Grappy viaduct.
They normally didn't let you cross the bridge.
Man,
you know, I went across the bridge to school because I went to Pulaski because I was going to take up truck driving. Ain't drove a truck but the one I'm in now.
Wow. And the crazy thing is my brother, he went to Bayview. And when he went to Bayview, 78, 79, those folks were very hostile. Very hostile to black folks. So
I was there at Pulaski when we had that little altercation with the white folks. But they learned they couldn't beat us.
Well, you know, it is, and then like, you know, me and some of my former classmates talked about, then we discovered that white people are not a monolith. You know, we put everybody and said they white. Oh, there's some real differences. So I went to school on the North Shore. They looked down on people on the South Shore here because they were Polish and Serb and Lithuanian, you know, and they looked down on them. I'm like, wow, aren't all white people together? And the answer to that
most
question
of the
is
people
no.
that on the north end was Jewish and Irish,
German.
Yeah, so that played a role.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, it was, and so all of a sudden now, my view of the world is being expanded a little bit, and then probably one of the greatest classes I ever took in college is white ethnics in America, and it gave me a sense of this idea of how even Europeans look down on other Europeans. All you have to do is go to Ireland. I heard somebody mention that yesterday in church, that all you have to do is go to Ireland and see the conflict there. They all look alike, but there's conflict.
But they know which one they don't want.
Which one is Catholic and which one is Protestant. You're absolutely correct. And so, when you look at, I appreciate that, but I really do love getting out, going to different parts of the state because it's just really beautiful. Now, the people ain't all that nice.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
Yeah, because right now they got a lot of storm damage up there, and they need some of us because not all of them are have their credentials straight, so they can do that type of work. So now they need us to come out there and help them.
That's amazing to me that I hear this conversation being pushed by Republicans who are making the argument that migrants are coming and taking jobs that Americans would normally have. That's not true.
They don't want to work those jobs.
No, they don't want to. Ask Carvey. Hey, Carvey, you want to go and be a carpenter? Yeah. I said, did you want to be a carpenter? No. And if
you want to put roofs on?
Right. If you didn't grow up in the crib, where you saw that kind of stuff going on, every now and then you get some people out there and they go, shout out to Tonda, we slang wood. But she went into that later. But you don't see a lot of folks. And so you do have people who come in from other countries and look, they're just trying to make it good or better for their families, man. Someone was talking about Trump the other day, and he's making the argument, oh, yeah, when I was there, we didn't have anybody coming across the border. I'm going, that's correct. It was called COVID. And you paid to put 25,000 Mexican troops on the border to make sure nobody crossed that border. And nobody did. But it was because of COVID. But, here's the other piece of it. If you talk to senators from the state of Arizona, state of New Mexico, state of Texas, not so much Texas, but certainly California, they need that migrant labor to come in and work those fields. It has impact on our economy.
The only ones that are complaining about it are the ones that want to seem like we don't want to do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't want to do that.
No, we don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that. I mean,
because we were brought here, and put to work doing that.
Right.
So there's a difference. And the only thing you think about is, because I was thinking about Landry, how he went into farming.
Right.
And I told him it takes a lot of guts because that's a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking, they were showing, I guess, I don't know if it's Fox or CBS 58 is doing the thing where they're highlighting the dairy farms. And man, that is hard work on a dairy farm. And a lot of these family-owned dairy farms are being pushed out by, the large agricultural concerns and dairy farms where they're putting a lot of them out of business. And then if you're adjacent to an urban area, I don't know if you grew up here, but up in Merton, Wisconsin.
Born and raised, First and Monarchy.
Camp Wickham, right? Camp Wickham is in Merton, Wisconsin. Yeah. When I went out there as a teenager, it was all farmland. When I was out there then as an adult working there, it was still farmland. Now you get there, there are like no farms. It's all been subdivided, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you own land and you're adjacent to an urban area that's part of this whole metroplex, you can see where people going in, because I think it's 18 that can get you in or 16 that can get you in real quickly. So
and you don't have to drive that far. You can just go to Cedarburg and you see how they making subdivisions.
Right, and if you sit up and think about, I was like, we're so used to traffic in Milwaukee, where they call it, we don't have the rush hour, we have the rush minute. And so our traffic patterns, but there's people work in Chicago, work in New York, DC, where it takes them 45 minutes to get to work. They're in their car for at least 2 hours, 3 hours a day. There's some folks I know that live in Kenosha. He works in Illinois. She works in Milwaukee. So when you look at the commute, I'm spoiled. It only took me 10 minutes to get from my house to my job. I mean, I and sometimes when I'm driving outside, I kind of go like, dude, you've been kind of segregated, because I was driving out on is that 124th Street, right when you get to the county line going into either Washington and Ozaukee County. I was going up for an event, and I'm seeing black people. I'm going, black people way out here?
No. Question.
Yeah, they are, but I'm not out that way. Where I shop is kind of in a real general area. But there are people who, man, they go long distances. I don't.
No, they say this. Is Milwaukee have too many high schools?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, because based on the student population, and that's the other piece.
That, don't you?
Why is that?
They didn't want us to dominate in sports. So if we spread them out, how they gonna dominate?
Well, I think that we built up until. Isn't one of the newest schools is Reagan, right? It's one of the new built schools. But when I was in, I say the 5th and 6th grade, they built more schools. So Parkman was built, Madison was built. I'm trying to think, was it Hamilton? It could have been Hamilton. There was a bunch of schools, new schools that they built. I think Hamilton was also built during that period. And but it was a city based on 1 million people. We're half that size now, but we still have the same number of buildings. Plus, when you look at alternative education opportunities, i.e. people can do choice or they can do charter schools, that's also reduced the MPS population.
Right.
Homeschool. And so now, but we still have those buildings. And in all that noise leading up to the referendum, one of the things they talked about was right sizing, that they got to figure out how you're going to, because you have certain situations where the building is half used, and then you have other situations where the building is overcrowded. So they're going to have to figure out what that right sizing look like, but they won't know that until they deal with their current fiscal situation, getting that report to the state to figure out then how much money the state is then going to send to them. So yeah, you're correct. We have far too many buildings.
The state saying they owe them money back.
There's a possibility.
Now, the question is, there's a principal at Hawthorne Elementary School doing a great job, Miss Williams. We should look into her as doing some of the programs she's doing throughout her school, throughout all these schools.
Well, I never understood about MPS, and maybe some of you former folks or current folks who work for MPS, I never understood where they had a successful principal someplace and then they would move them. Now I don't, because are you assuming then that the person who's going to replace them is going to be just as good? But I won't call the school's name, but I saw they had one particular very effective principal, and that individual ended up being moved. Now, again, I don't know the internal politics.
It could be that they liked his style and they thought another school that may have been struggling with administration.
But won't that leave a hole in the school that they left?
Well, he's got that one. He's already got that one on the right path. Let's see if he can straighten this situation
out. That could easily go off the rails depending on the leadership there, right?
Yeah, you can only do what you can do. The effort was there to try to right this ship, because he's done as much as he can do here, and he's got he or she correct, has gotten the right people in place for this to be able to continue on. And now let's see if he can straighten this situation out for me.
All right, man. Appreciate you. 414-444-5250 414-444-5250.
I've got to get better at that, Keith. I've got to get better at that.
At what?
He or she, because I keep saying he.
Well, we live in Oh, when I used to really get people going crazy was, I said, I was saying this last week, God really has the sense of humor. I really believe she does.
I heard you say that last week.
And people are like, what? God is a what? How about this, y'all? God is neither male or female. Obviously, in the sacred text, God is referred to in the masculine sense. That's because men wrote it. But I have to believe that God is probably not limited to what we call gender or sex. I said to folks last Sunday in church, I do not believe God is a registered Democrat or Republican. He's certainly not Catholic or Jewish. But for us, our conceptualization of what God is, we will make him like, dude from around the way.
Little dude now.
They'll do them. Yeah. Oh, Dooney M. Dooney M. Where we get M from?
I don't know.
Duty and M.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Are we breaking? All right. You're listening to Community Voice. The phone lines are open, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Yes, sir. I was just listening to your last iteration concerning God we are taught in the Nation of Islam that God, the word God, means possessor of power and force. So you yourself, if you possess the ability or you have the capacity to execute power and force over a situation or over yourself or over a group or a population or a world, then you yourself can consider yourself in concerning the definition of that word, God, God, but not the God, the definite article. When you say that God is neither male nor female, the only word that comes up into my mind is that, what is he, androgynous, or is he hermaphrodite? And that is entirely to the contrary when it comes to the Holy Quran, which in the Holy Quran, when it opens, it says that Allah says this, I am the best knower. And then there is an ayat that says that in this book, there is no doubt, because the Holy Quran was not put together after the fact, as the Bible was compiled or put together by people after the fact, and then it was altered because they lacked the ability to suffice for translation for particular words and
let me ask you a question.
situations.
Let me ask you a question. Does Allah, Jehovah, Creator, God, is that entity bigger than the Quran and bigger than the Bible?
Of course,
Okay.
Allah is bigger than the Bible and the Holy Quran, but the purpose of those scriptures is so that he who falls away from the path, it's a reminder. It is to bring you back to the Creator.
Isn't it who
the
we
God,
are?
Allah.
Isn't who we are? And I think that
That is the purpose of the prophets being sent.
right, but I'm
They're
talking about God now.
moonlight.
I'm talking about something bigger than
Let's
the prophets.
talk about God.
No, I'm that's who I was
Allah.
talking about. You call it call the Creator, whatever you want to call the Creator. Bigger than Islam, bigger than Christianity, bigger than Judaism, bigger than Hinduism. Before there were books, there was God.
Right. There was Allah. That's right. And
Okay.
that's why those books were not needed.
And then men wrote a book based on man's lived experience. We write from who we are.
Which man?
It don't matter who the man is.
It does matter.
It does not matter. A man wrote the book.
Because if it didn't matter, you would not bring up the point of why is there a white Jesus, and you would not make a distinction when you iterate that something about a black Jesus.
Because historically, Jesus wasn't white. That's why I bring that up.
Well, then if it didn't matter, you wouldn't say it. So
It matters. It matters because of white supremacy. It does matter in terms of white supremacy.
And that is
so when I push back on white
let me go
Jesus,
back
I'm
on-
pushing back on white supremacy.
That's understood. And take this as well, Mr. Parris. When it comes to God being a man, if that were not a part of the equation or the entire equation, then why is it so easy that the populace of the world can submit to a picture of a Caucasoid with fiber, blue-eyed, and albino-like, and then he rules
Because
the
of
world
catechism,
with
I
that.
can tell you why. Because of
Mr. Parris,
catechism
so there
and
you're talking about
indoctrination.
God, you
It
brought
has,
up the
but
white
God is
man,
bigger.
and he is your God.
God
He
is
has
bigger.
been your God.
No, sir. No, sir. God is bigger than humanity. What humanity has done is tried to contain God. What humanity does is try to put God in a building, try to put God in a book.
No.
But God is bigger than that.
No.
God is not bigger than the book.
Does not.
God is not bigger than the book.
There are people, I've already spoken to you about that. There are people who are in places who put up those things that you have iterated. But those who are in the know that, as the scripture says, that
you're still a man.
You are the temple. I am the temple, Mr.
You still a man.
That's right, Mr. Parris. But I'm a creative.
As a matter of fact, let me put a
I'm
modifier on it. You're
and
just
I came
a man.
here by the biological means through the womb of my mother, through the ages of man and woman.
Introduce me to any
and come up.
man. Introduce me to any man that created a cloud. Introduce
Parris,
me
you
to
can
the man
create a
that created
cloud
the
if you know
cloud.
something about chemistry.
Oh, okay.
It's not
So
that
what I'm
hard.
saying is, man does not create the cloud, right?
Man can create and replicate clouds, but he's not the author or the creator of water.
Oh, so then God is bigger than man. That's the
I
only
never
argument that
disagreed
I'm
with
making
you,
here,
but man
Christopher.
is created in the likeness.
That's a
and after
man's
the
opinion.
image
That's a man's opinion.
of
But
no,
that's a
Mr.
man's
Parris.
opinion.
That may be that's not an opinion. That's an actual fact.
That's not that. So you
Mr.
saying that
Parris,
God? You saying
I
that
would
God
say
was a
what you-
man?
With your iterations when it
I'm
comes
asking you a
to-
question, Christopher. Are you saying God was a man?
Of course, he's a man. He's a self-created super.
God is a man.
Being.
God is a man.
That's
Flesh
why
and
man has
blood,
the authority on
finite, will die, will
Mr. Parris,
decay.
Allah
Is that
above
God?
all of that. He's supernatural.
Oh,
You
okay.
understand that?
So
Mr.
if he's
Parris?
supernatural and man is natural, that means that God is not a man or a woman.
He's more than a man. He's
Oh, thank
Superman.
you. That's the
You
only point I'm
understand that?
making, Christopher.
And no, it's that what you do is your iterations are heretical. From what I'm gathering,
Heretical. You talking now from a religious perspective?
Yes, because
when you make it from a scientific perspective, your scientific perspective says
and
that
God,
the creator
Allah
is not
the
a man.
supreme, and God Allah is the supreme scientist, Mr. Parris. How do you think scientists accomplish the things that they accomplish without the help of God?
Is God
Almighty
a
Allah,
human?
Mr. Parris?
Is God a human being?
Mr. Parris?
No.
Huh?
No, God is not a human being.
He is. People do not accept the super fantastical BS from a heretic talking about God is not a human being.
He is not.
See,
What is heretical about that?
If you keep living, you will see it.
God is not a man.
Keep living.
God is not a
How
man.
dare you say and stand before the people that you
Man is
represent
part of God's
God,
creation.
and then you say
We're
that
a part
man
of.
and God are
God is not
one and
part
the
of
same.
us in terms of this piece, like the small little
Man
piece
and
of God.
Didn't Jesus say, "Me and my Father are one, and whatsoever the Father bid me to do, that I do"? Huh? Did he say that?
He did say that, but what does that
All right,
mean?
then.
Does
What
that
the
so
hell
the God?
are you talking about?
Because you're using the Bible to justify
Because
God
that's what
being
you
a man, but that's a
represent,
book
and that's
written
what
by
our
man.
People understand.
I don't
If
understand.
I came totally out of the Holy Quran, you wouldn't understand anything that I'm talking about. But since
What the Holy Quran does, what the Holy Bible
which
does.
is a poison book.
Okay.
That has been tampered with and altered.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you, man. He's still there? Okay. All right, God. I think I can go out on a limb. This ain't even a limb.
Okay.
God is not a man. Caller, welcome to the program.
What's up, man? My name's Trip, man.
What up,
Long
Trip?
time fan.
Hey, man.
Oh, I just want to make this one comment, right? Like, so with NPS, like they did with COVID, they had the tablets. Now, word of mouth is they talking about giving back the tablets, but you got no computer program. And I'm asking them, and I'm calling around to get a design so they can cash me out as being the manufacturer for the tablets itself. Now they don't want to spend that budget on that, in advanced technology, because Apple, they working with something now, and I'm like, man, information is ready now. It ain't no phone book. It's literally in your hand. And they don't want to give me the opportunity, because it ain't just Milwaukee. I don't know what dude talking about. It's the whole nation. I was at the program and he talking about Bolton. And when I was there, the man who came from the 90s, old dude, he go there every time. He was talking about bolting down the chairs or whatnot. And all the teachers that was there, man, they went to the schools I used to skip at, and some of the ones I used to go to. They was my old principals and teachers, man. And the only reason they were there at the meeting is because, man, I pushed them into the manner of being one of the elite, and my track record for that speaks itself. But I want to say this, like Ascension Hospital, man, they rule Milwaukee County and surrounding counties. Greater is only one, man. Let me ask you this: have you ever heard the question, what would you do for $1 million?
Yeah.
Well, man, person ever asked me, I go out and tell them, man, look, I'm gonna go catch an STD. On what though? Hey, it's worth $750,000 per incident because Central Hospital, man, they just adopted the program into fighting STD just for the money. You know, as Prater make their cancer war renowned treatment, man. I'm out here, man. My name's Triple D'Angelo. Look me up.
All right,
Again, man. Enjoy that. Bye.
All right. Peace. Wow. Okay. All right. So, heretic. Wow. Heretic. Because I said God is not a man. Wow. It's interesting. And then to hear him make scientific arguments, which he does normally. Wow. Just so we're clear, religion was created by man for man. And right now there's a whole interesting debate. Someone we were talking yesterday about down in, I want to say it's the great state of Alabama, where, no, the great state of Louisiana, where now they have put, they have mandated that the 10 Commandments be hung in classrooms, all public schools, and that's up in college too. And they said that it wasn't religious. It was really about, these are the moral codes that we base our whole jurisprudence system on. You might argue that, but there's some of these that is not part of our jurisprudence system, i.e. coveting somebody else's wife or their animals or their servants. And then the first two verses or the first two commandments is, one, thou shalt have no other God before me. And then two, thou shalt not create any graven images and worship them. That seems to be pretty religious to me. Now, I don't know what religion looks like for other people, but anytime we invoke God, that then becomes religion. And so it really is. And this is the thing that I am concerned with in this country. That and so when Christopher is hearing me pushing back on white Jesus is a metaphor. It historically is not accurate, but it has had historical impact, right? Because it further perpetuates this idea of white superiority. Look, if God is white, the way we operate with racism, that means that white people are superior people because they look like God. Wrong. So wrong. Wrong on so many different levels. And so I think we have to be able to separate our superstitions, our religions, our strongly held beliefs, and then there are facts out there, and we need to be mindful of the facts. Call, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, brother. Good morning. Can you hear me, brother?
Oh yeah, brother, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now you know. I gotta say something here, man. Listen, we'll say that there was manipulation with the drawing of the white Jesus picture, and I don't even really want to go there because we could have did it first. Well, I think we did do it first. I think our images were dark images. I mean, if you just look at some of the propaganda that's coming out of Russia right now, I don't know if that's backwards stuff or not, but it shows the deity of a black Jesus, black mother. But anyway, man, listen. When we get into the idea that this religion that has been pushed on us is from the white man, what all his white folk is doing. His white people is doing, and they living by it every day. See, when you take away a moral compass, now we don't have any moral compass. And, you starting to sound more and more like Earl Ingram, that started out okay, but some kind of way he became over progressive. And I don't even know if he even believe in God at all anymore. And this is the danger when we take theology in school. Sometimes you walk away from a theology class wondering and scratching your head, is there a God? That's why I'm so glad that I didn't go seeking the truth. See, when you start looking for the truth, that means the truth that you've been given is no longer your truth. You believe in, it's no longer, your foundation was weak because whoever put it in you, it's rooted up already. It's rooted up that quick. I cannot be shaken. When I study other religions, I'm studying their religion to debunk that religion with my religion. I'm not going to study Islam to find the truth. I got the truth. I know that.
But there's truth in Islam.
Okay. When you're looking at Islam as being truth, you have to rightly divide that, because
just like there's truth in Christianity, there's truth in Islam.
All Christianity is truth. All of it.
All Christianity?
All of it. Because look here, if we even say the white man put this on us, all of their people is doing it more than us by the droves. See, they stole our religion. And in return of that, we allowed Islam to get rooted in this country through the black Muslims in the 30s to say that it was a white man given religion. Now we are fighting with what you're dealing with.
Muslims are such a small part of our population here. They are. Relatively speaking, Muslims are one of the smallest religious groups. We got 350 million people in America, and you have pockets where there are people who practice Islam. Islam is considered one of the fastest growing religions in the world, but in terms of America, I don't know, 2%, 3% of our population is probably Muslim.
No, can I say this to you? Brother, there are American Muslims that are here breathing.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people who actually practice the religion.
They actually practice it. They actually practicing it.
Yeah, but it's not a overwhelming. You have pockets. Like if you go up to Michigan, there is a large Muslim population there in Michigan because Michigan has the largest Middle Eastern population in the country there. So, but no, when you look at percentages, this whole idea of Islam, and here's the other thing, I don't know if they have an equivalent of the 10 Commandments in the Quran, but couldn't a Muslim argue that why don't you then put whatever our tenets are in terms of moral behavior up on the wall too? And then could Hindus also make that argument? And could Buddhists make that argument? Or could atheists make that argument where they put up on the wall, there is no God?
Listen, let me explain this to you, brother.
Okay.
There is, when you're looking at the 10 Commandments, Islam, the Quran is actually a spinoff from the Bible. You have to remember something. The Quran was what not Elijah, but Prophet Muhammad of Arabia, I'll give him the Arabian name, came, 570 some years after my Lord Jesus Christ. Now the Quran was written before the King James 1611 version. But at the same time, when you look at that, two things that the Quran didn't have, that Muhammad didn't have, and that Jesus had. Jesus had scribes and writers and followers seeking to find fault in him. This guy, Muhammad, came about with a vision. And you know who interpreted that vision? A Catholic, brother. That's the reason why you see Catholicism all through them. You hear them talking about the virgin birth of Mary, the mother of Jesus, more than the Bible. The Bible mentioned Mary's rump about 2 or 3 times. The Quran mentioned about 24 or 25 times. You see Catholicism all in the Quran. Listen, brother, I would love to debate you, but if Whitey is teaching his people like crazy, giving them that moral compass, what makes me and you stand up and start teaching our people something different?
If we had, and here's the reality, and this goes beyond any sectarian, any religion. Righteousness is different than being religious. Righteousness, and especially, let's do one that's pretty universal, justice, right? As Christians, as Jews, as Hindus, as Muslims, all of us have as one of the tenets of our belief is this idea of justice, right? Righteousness. That's what religion tries to do. Religion tries to modify or to mitigate our worst instincts because we have to live in this world. You know, again, Bishop Tutu's book, God is not a Christian. God is not a Jew. Religion is for man. Religion ain't God. And we need to be clear on that.
Okay, well, let me explain. You made a good drawn out you made a good drawn out point. But just like you said, it's good. It's sort of like something built within us, good and evil, bad and good. Well, in some countries, eating human beings is good. Over here, it would be considered bad. So if you're taught to eat human beings, then it's good. If you're taught not to eat human beings,
those are culturally derived, geographically, influence. What our diet is based on where we live, right? Now, and I don't know anybody that's eating people, and if they are, there's such a small percentage of the global population that is statistically insignificant. If there's anybody out there, the last person I thought was Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, so I'm just saying in terms of that is so rare. Of course, most human beings do not eat other human beings. Okay?
It's still in right or wrong. It's still in right or wrong.
It is obviously wrong. That's why we don't do it. And that's an acceptable piece of...
Who told you it was wrong?
I'm sorry?
Who told you it was wrong?
My cultural customs told me that it was wrong.
Through what?
My mama never served me an arm.
Where did she get? Hold on, one. Where did she get the knowledge?
And where could she buy one?
No, where did she get the knowledge to know that stealing is wrong?
You start talking about stealing?
Yeah, I asked you a question.
Universally, all societies believe that stealing is wrong, except certain European societies. Wait, let me make the point. Except certain European societies who thought that they could steal land from people, i.e. the doctrine of discovery.
So where did they get that moral concept that stealing was wrong?
I don't know, but it has been. I'm sure it predated the 10 Commandments, that you don't steal from other people, that you don't kill other people. I think those things were in place. They just codified it and did the 10 Commandments. But I think that in terms of organized human society, most organized human societies believe that murder is wrong. To wrongfully take someone else's life is wrong. To steal from someone is wrong. Most people accept that. You don't need a Bible for that. That's kind of universally accepted as bad behavior.
It had to come from somewhere, brother.
It had to come from somewhere once we began to organize. You got to understand this. Let's just look at the source of the 10 Commandments. This was a nomadic group of people. There's a nomadic group of people who were not educated, not unlike the Egyptians.
Nomadic, when you say the word nomadic, clear that up for the audience.
They were moving around. They moved from Mesopotamia and ended up in Egypt. So they were. I'm sorry? No, that's not gypsies. They just moved, and you could move for a lot of reasons. There was famine in the land. You move someplace else. Trade opportunities. You move someplace else. They didn't really become a permanent people until really they got into Palestine.
Nomadic means you're a tent dweller, brother. Mean you out in the wilderness.
A lot of them were.
Yeah, okay. Well, explain that to the people because you use these terminology.
The point is,
most of us, we don't understand
until they settled into Canaan, right? And even I think the 10 Commandments was done in the wilderness because you had to organize a society. You had to come up with codes of behavior because you had people. Yeah. That's how you form societies. You have rules. That's what you do. Because if you don't, you have chaos.
And the rules were formed through what? A biblical Judea background, which
the Bible didn't exist. The Bible did not exist as we know it when the 10 Commandments was done on Mount Sinai. The Bible did not exist.
It was being prepared.
Okay. Well, now you can get into all of that, and I'm not going to get into systematic theology in terms of that. But what I'm saying is, if you just look at it from the context of history and time.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Because even when 400 years that the Israelites were in Egypt, they lived under Egyptian law.
That's right.
So
lived
what I'm
under
saying, but when they went off and they started their own thing, right, created their own nation, you have to have a law. I mean, that's basically how nations work. If you have an organization, don't you have bylaws in your organization?
Well, listen, brother, I got an organization that's got 2 or 3 bylaws.
But you got bylaws.
Of course.
That's how it functions. It's not going to function if you have chaos. I'll never forget, I was down at the school board meeting.
Our bylaws, by moral principles, is that of the Bible. Why would you throw that away? I got to go. I hear the music.
Did he drop the mic? Oh, okay. Yeah, he don't like him. Am I taking a break? You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is State Representative Lakeisha Myers letting you know there's a special election on July 2nd for the 4th Senate District. Having served for the past 6 years, I'm prepared to take office on day one to continue fighting for our community. Whether advocating for quality health care, better educational outcomes for children, or holding reckless drivers accountable, I'm ready to go to work. So Milwaukee, Shorewood, Glendale, Brown Deer, and Wauwatosa, I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, July 2nd.
FM with your host, Keith Parris.
Welcome back to Community Voice, and let me do this. I had the great pleasure of being part of a vow renewal service for Anthony, AB, and Lysandra Bryant. It was a great event, and but boy, it was crowded. It was packed.
Where was the event?
I think it's 38 Freight on South First Street. Really nice venue. Really nice venue. So, again, congratulations, 25 years of marriage, and seemed like only yesterday. It was just
it only seemed like, so you were part of the original piece?
You know what? There was some question. I think Pastor Wanzo did their ceremony. I don't know if I did or not. I know I did other family members for them, but I think Pastor Wanzo did theirs. Yeah. But it was hot. And then the rain didn't help because it got humid. So, but Charlotte really got a chance to see a lot of folks, and I love AB and I love Lysandra. So again, thank you for the honor of letting me be part of that. The good Lord say so. Next April will be 30 years for me. Wow. That does not seem like only yesterday. But
you and Rhonda have 30 years?
Actually, it'll be 39, but we've been married 30. So, yeah.
Wow, boy. I've
known her more than half my life now.
Yeah, that holds true for Jackie and myself as well, man. I look up and it's just, where did it go? Where did it go? Now 20 grandkids later and a couple great grandchildren, and it's like, where did it go?
And I'm hearing, and it sounds so weird to hear Lysandra say she's a grandmother, because I knew her before she was her. And,
I don't know how that's possible. If maybe you could elaborate on that.
You knew her before she was born.
Oh,
so,
okay.
That's
So
how
you
far
knew her
back we
before
go.
she was her.
Before she was her. So, you see that, which means I'm getting older. And then
there are several indications that you're getting older, Keith.
I know, man. But that one, that's always a reminder. Her daughter, we were in children's church, and they had to be she could have been about 8 or 9. And so we're doing the whole thing where Jesus encourages us to turn the other cheek. And I'm just going on to be meek, to walk away from conflict. And Jaylyn raised her hand. She said, and she wasn't defiant. She said, Reverend Parris, I know what you're saying, but my mama said. I said, you know what? I'm not going to argue. If your mama said pick something up and hit him, what can I tell you? But no, so congratulations, man. Really, really, really love y'all. Let me thank Debo. Let me thank Representative Dora Drake. Carvey, thank you. Jay, what up? Good to see you. Jay was up in the spot.
Hey, man. Jay was on there yesterday, man. He did the gospel piece, man. I was like, well, he ain't gonna open the mic. He closed that door and come in here and got busy.
Oh, did he?
I was over in production, man, and I know anything. Oh, you got Reverend Jermaine right out with you right now.
Look at that.
He didn't say Reverend, but he may as well have.
I didn't come to preach.
Yeah, I didn't come to preach, but
he delivered. Hey, man, let me thank everybody. Good Lord willing, Creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go for this place in peace.
Lord,